Hello, welcome back to Saints Live with me, Kenzie, Benali and Steve Forbes. Can we build on our win against Manchester City as the Saints visit Goodison Park to take on the Toffees tonight? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But before then, Steve, we've got a lot to get through, including talking about this beauty.
Yeah, we've got loads to get through. We're going to have team news in less than 15 minutes. We're going to be chatting all things Saints, like Kenzie said, including the new kit. And do make sure to comment as well, so you can do that below, and we'll be getting through as many as possible through the show too.
And of course, as always, we are joined by our resident guests, Dean Hammond and Adam Leitch. Guys, great to see you once again. Still on a high after Sunday?
Yes, definitely a great result. Really entertaining game, and what a performance, and a brilliant 3 points. So yeah, still buzzing from a brilliant match.
Likewise, and also I see the most watched Premier League game in history as well. So if you're going to pull out a result like that, what a time to do it.
Yeah, 5.7 million, wasn't it? Unbelievable.
Huge numbers, yeah.
Oof.
I've had a bit of a spring in my step for the last few days, I think.
I know,
based off of that.
as have I.
Yeah, well, that actually leads us pretty well into our first discussion topic, which is reflecting on that Man City game. So, Dean, based on that win, what's that going to do for squad confidence now going into this one?
Well, everything. I mean, confidence is key in football. It's like magic dust, and it will help the team spirit. It'll inspire the players, and it was just a really top performance against one of the best teams in the league. It proved not only that Southampton can beat teams that are around them, but also the top teams, and compete against them. So the players will be flying high. They'll be confident in training. There'll be a really positive atmosphere, and that will lead into the rest of the season. And since Southampton have come back from the mini break, they've been fantastic. The performances and the results have been excellent, and they're just a joy to watch. And I keep mentioning it, the players look happy, the manager looks happy, and it just looks like a really happy camp and a happy environment. And long may that continue.
It was actually really hard to pick out a standout performer. There were so many incredible displays by all, really, but we looked particularly defensively solid. Jack Stephens was named man of the match. Adam, does a defensive display like that really unite a team?
I think it has to, really. I mean, the calibre of opposition they were playing against as well. I mean, that was not just Man City going through the motions. That was a good Man City team that went out there. It wasn't a kind of reserve youth team just going out there for the fun of it. They played. They came and they played pretty well. And Saints were able to repel them time and time again. Bodies on the line. Momentum is so important in football, and Saints just feel like they've got that at the moment. They've got that momentum, which means a lot of belief. A defensive display like that obviously breeds that feeling of unity among the team as well. There's kind of a bit of a band of brothers spirit there. You can almost sense it at the moment. The Saints feel like that. You get that sense from a slight distance. So they feel like they can do something really special in this little mini season. Yes, okay, perhaps the major achievements of the season, kind of in the top half of the table, the very top end, are kind of have gone, but actually I think that they are trying to set themselves a marker for next season by doing so well in restart, and it really feels like that unity, and that's what we saw with that defensive display, I think, from front to back. And exactly, completely agree with what you said there. How can you even pick a star performer? I mean, it was so good from 1 to 11. I mean, it was just absolutely top draw.
Puts a smile on your face watching some of those highlights back, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
After or during the post-match show, one viewer commented to say it was very similar to Leeds versus Southampton at Ellen Road back in 2012. And I suppose this is one for both of you. Do you see similarities in that? Let's start with you, Dean.
Yes, obviously I was playing in that game and experienced that game, and it was very similar. Leeds are not quite as good as Man City, we'll say that. But it was played at Ellen Road. It was in a hot atmosphere. It was backs against the wall. We had to play a really defensive shape. We had to ride our luck. Obviously, Calvin Davis was fantastic that afternoon, that evening. I think made some great saves. But again, I think it just showed, and like the game against Manchester City, the spirit we had within the group and what it meant to us. The we were celebrating every save, we were celebrating every block, we were celebrating every time we kind of they didn't score, because they had the momentum, they had the spirit that it was backs against the wall, and that was a really important part of the season for us, getting that result at Elland Road, getting that 3 points, and that does give you a huge lift. It gives you that belief, because it just gives you that. It gives you that base. If you're defensively strong and you can keep clean sheets and you don't concede goals, the team we had at the time, we knew we would score goals, and I think the Southampton team now is very similar. They've got top attacking players that can score goals in the Premier League. So now that the structure of the team looks defensively strong, moving forward, there's big opportunities for the club. But yeah, that day was a great result, and there was some big celebrations in the dressing room afterwards.
I think the major difference for me, really, between those two performances, I remember the Elland Road one so well as well, was that there wasn't such a disparity between the teams in theory as there is between Manchester City and Saints, and there was then between Leeds and Saints. And so Saints put in on Sunday a fantastic performance to get that. No disrespect to Dean, he might not like this, but that was absolute daylight robbery, what happened at Elland Road. I mean, Saints, they were poor that night, in all honesty, compared to the standards that you as a team had set yourself, Dean. It was not great, and they hit the woodwork twice. Kelvin bailed them out numerous times, and then Ricky did what Ricky does, just one goal, and all of a sudden. But that's what that was a team that was on a roll as well. That was a team that was full of confidence, that was going up, and those are the games that sometimes you need in a long season, I'd say.
So this is where you can get away with saying a bit more and be a bit more opinionated. When you're both on Zoom in different houses and you're not in the same studio, you're safe. There's no danger of any conflict there. Well, in terms of the wretched home form then, I sense I can kind of anticipate your answers here, but does that put that to bed now, or is consistency really the key from this point, Dean?
I think you're right. I think consistency is the key. I think your season, well, it goes against this season, but your season is based upon your home form. You want to be strong at home. You should enjoy playing in front of your home supporters at your home ground. It should become a fortress. But yes, the victory against Man City will really, really help that, because it's not only the result, it's the performance of the players individually, performance of the team collectively together against a top team. And like Adam said, it wasn't, backs against the wall. The team created opportunities. They had possession of the football. They were creative. So it was a really, really strong performance. I don't think it puts it to bed, but I think it really does help that, the first home game or the second home game they've had since the mini break put in a really strong performance and got a really good result. And the players will now look at that and they'll remember that. When they're playing home, they'll have that feeling, that special feeling of beating Man City at home. So the next home game will be really important. And I think if we can go back-to-back home wins, then that will be a difference in the mentality then.
Well, let's take a look at what the fans are saying at home then across socials. Leah Fitcher is joining us on YouTube. He's saying, up the Saints, 1-0 win today. Penny Cotton, also watching us on YouTube. Hello. She says, another goal, please, Shay. Paul Marriott is watching on Facebook. He says, just getting my app fired up to watch in Thailand. Wow, I wonder what time it is there. Mark, also on Facebook, says Southampton 3-1, Shay Adams and Ings with 2. Paul on Facebook has had a tricky fixture, but it will be great to see our boys playing top draw football once again. Very proud of their last performance. It certainly was a good one, wasn't it, Paul? So lots of good feelings going into this one, I think, Steve. Yeah,
definitely. And obviously we'll be chatting about the team news in a few moments' time. But before we get stuck into that, we were catching up with our manager, Ralph Hasenhüttl, a little earlier on.
Thursday's game brings the chance to go above Everton in the table. Do you find yourselves looking at the teams above you and throwing targets out there to the players of where you'd like to finish?
Not to climbing the table, but more to win this one game. We have now one game against Everton, and we know that we have a chance to win this. If we play well, we are more concentrating on what we have to do to win games and on where we are then in what position we are. doesn't make sense. First think about the table and then think about the game. The better way is the opposite way, to think about what you can do to win games, and then the rest comes by the way.
It's easy to forget you had a lot of players missing on Sunday due to injury. Have any of those guys recovered?
Yeah, I think for the Thursday game, not so many. I hope Pierre is an option again for us, and then the rest will be out. I think Musa is also now injured with a muscle injury. So when you look on our bench in the moment, there's some young lads on the bench, and there will be also the time coming where we need them to play, and this is exactly what we will do in the final games. Give them maybe also a chance to show up once, and hopefully then they do a good job.
Well, we'll be bringing you the team news in just under 4 minutes' time now. But before we do, Adam, any changes you'd make to the side? We can see the scenes there up at Goodison Park. How would you line up Saints to take on Everton this evening?
Well, I mean, I don't really see any justification for changes, from the outside. I mean, Ralph obviously sees the players day in, day out, and in the back of his mind, I'm sure he'll have the knowledge that I think we're in 5 games in a fortnight now. I mean, that's a lot of games. He isn't realistically going to play, no matter how well they do, that he isn't going to be able to play the same 11 for 5 games in 2 weeks. So he obviously will have to monitor that. But I think there's quite a long gap, really, this one, Sunday to Thursday. Next gap is not very long, so it might be freshening it up. But unless there's any problems or any obvious struggles anywhere, I think you stick with it. That we've talked about the momentum and the confidence and the run they're on, and I think that you want to just keep putting them out as much as you can. So from Ralph's point of view, even though he's got to be very wary of protecting the players and ensuring they don't pick up injuries by overplaying in this packed period, I think he will want to get the same team out again if he possibly can, and see if he can get one more result, and then sort of worry about the next game, which is Monday, in fact, not Sunday. Kind of wants this one, but in terms of the team itself, I don't really see any need to make any changes.
Yeah, Ralph really does seem to have some options going forward, and Shane Long came off the bench against Man City and looked good. Dean, what do you think is going to suit Saints best this evening?
I agree with Adam. I would go very similar. I'd go with the same team just because of that momentum, because of the performance and the belief, and like you said, the attacking players were exceptional against Manchester City, caused a lot of trouble, were threatening, looked electric. Combinations between Shay Adams and Danny Ings was very, very good. Redmond, obviously, when he travels with the ball and he attacks plays, he's very direct, and I like that. And I would, Shay's now got his first goal, so I would continue playing him. His confidence would be high. He wants to continue and get another goal, and strikers generally do that, attacking players. They score in groups, so if he scores one, he's got that relief. Now he'll probably go and get another goal today, I would hope. And Danny Ings obviously is going for the Golden Boot and is on fire. He would be the only one that I would be wary of, because Danny's had injury problems previously in his career, and I know he's in excellent form. He looks really happy. He looks comfortable, but because you just have to be a little bit wary of him, that he's playing a lot of games now in a short period of time. So he's an excellent player. He's a talisman for the football club, but you wouldn't want to lose him for a long period of time. But I think, you've got Shane Long and Shay Adams are very similar players. I don't think there's another Danny Ings in the squad, so it's difficult to drop him. But yeah, the attacking players have been exceptional, and I would go the same as the team against Man City.
Well, we'll be able to bring you that team in under 30 seconds now. Just time, though, to look at a couple of comments on socials. Hayden has said 2-1 Southampton, Shay Adams again, and time for one more, I think, just before we bring you the team news. Glenn has said he's going for a 2-0 win, Romeu to score. An interesting prediction there. Well, it is 5 o'clock, which means I can give you the Southampton team news, and I can reveal that it is an unchanged starting 11 from the team that defeated Pep Guardiola Viola's Manchester City at St Mary's just a few days ago. Højbjerg does return to the bench following injury, and Gineppo drops out also through injury. So let's run through that starting 11 for you then. In goal, Alex McCarthy, Carl Walker-Peters, Jack Stevens, Jan Bednarek and Ryan Bertrand make up the back four. In the midfield, Oriol Romeu, our captain, James Ward-Prowse, Stuart Armstrong and Nathan Redmond. And the attack, Shay Adams and Danny Ings. And then the substitutes for Southampton today, Angus Gunn, Kevin Danso, Jake Vokins, Pierre Højbjerg, Will Smallbone, Alex Yankovic, Will Ferry, Michael Obafemi and Shane Long. So let's come to you, Adam, then for an initial reaction on there. You said you'd expect to see an unchanged side. That's exactly what it is. Do you think these boys can do the business again against Everton today?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, this is definitely another tough game. I mean, I watched Everton in their last match when they played Tottenham, and they were pretty awful. I wouldn't expect them to be quite so lackluster again. I think it's going to be a tougher evening for Saints, but you know, why not? I mean, if you can beat Man City, you could kind of feel like you can beat anybody, really. I mean, only obviously look at the league table. Only Liverpool are kind of above Man City. They're the only better team in the division. So if you can beat Man City, why not? I think it's sensible from Ralph. Goes again tonight, puts them out, and then assess them for the next game. And if you have to change, you have to make changes. But as long as they look fit and sharp and he sees them in training every day, then keep it going, keep the momentum. Why not? It's a role, keep it going.
Yeah, we've talked about keeping momentum, talked about Shay Adams still having his confidence. Another player that really impressed against Man City was Carl Walker-Peters. Is this a chance for him to really cement his place as the first choice right back for these remaining games? Dean?
Yeah, it's another opportunity for him. He was very impressive, and I spoke previously that obviously an attacking fullback, almost like a winger. He's very, very quick, he's direct, he's comfortable on the ball, which you would expect from coming from an academy like Tottenham. But I like the way he defended. I like the way he used his body when he was defending. His positioning and understanding of his defending was very, very good. He was playing alongside Jack Stevens, so I'm sure Jack was giving him a lot of information, communicating well of him. But yeah, it gives him another opportunity to start, to impress the manager. And maybe there is an opportunity at Southampton for him next season, because he's very good, and he's a young player that, you know, the more he plays, the more experience he gets, the more first team football he gets in Premier League competitive football, the better he becomes. So he looks like a good prospect, and long may his performances continue.
Well, it certainly seems like optimism is rife, not just with Dean and Adam, but the fans at home as well. We've had a comment in from Ian here. He says, a win against Everton and Man United, and we're potentially looking at Europe. We like that kind of optimism. Glenn has said on Facebook, he's going for a 2-0 win to the Saints tonight. Stephen, also on Facebook, has said, watching the game here on Vancouver Island, Canada. Looking forward to a 3-pointer for the Saints. And Ross Martin has got in touch. He's saying Ings and Shay to score. And Richard Hall has also sent us a comment. He says, I'm feeling nervous again. Good luck, Saints, from France. No need to feel nervous, Richard. Just enjoy the game, and thanks for your company.
Yeah, loads of positive comments there, but it's time now to have a little bit of fun. Kenzie, we've made a 5-a-side team comprised of players from both Southampton and Everton who've played for both clubs.
Since 2000.
Since 2000, exactly, yes, because obviously we have to omit certain players from before that. So we can actually have a look at it here. There's a few good players on here, but like I said, from both clubs. In goal, you can see is Martin Stecklenburg. He had 25 appearances for Saints in the 2015-16 season before joining Everton. And then the rest of the squad is made up of Cuco Martina, who had 36 appearances for Saints and one very memorable goal. Morgan Schneiderlin's in there. He made 261 appearances for Saints over 7 seasons before joining Manchester United in 2015 and then going on to Everton, and recently left for French side Nice, and we're going to talk about more of him a little later on. Theo Walcott's there as well. He only made actually 22 appearances for the Saints before joining Arsenal in 2006. Now he's at Everton, of course, and then leading the line there is James Beattie with 233 appearances for Southampton before joining Everton in 2005. And that squad is managed by Ronald Koeman, who's the only person to manage both Southampton and Everton, and we'll talk about him as well shortly.
Yeah, we're going to go into depth and talk about those all more in depth a bit later on. But Adam, I'd actually be interested to hear your thoughts on this team briefly. How do you think they'd get on a Tuesday night down at Goals?
Well, I think they do all right. I think they do okay. I'm not
just all right.
Entirely convinced by the. I'm not entirely convinced by the defensive solidity. Really, I mean, Kuko, bless him, was not always the most concentrated defenders at all times. In fact, I think I might rather have. Yeah, I mean, maybe put Ronald in the team at the back. He's pretty good. Yeah, but I mean, you've got the passing ability. Morgan, very good. You've got a bit of pace, for whatever that's worth of goals on a Tuesday night with Theo, and then you've got the big man up top with Beats, and and what a talisman he was for Saints. So, yeah, not too bad, I don't think. And not too shabby. I think they do okay. I think they grind out a few wins, let's put it that way.
I think they might make it into the top league down at Goals on a Tuesday, yeah, definitely. Now, Dean, Morgan Schneiderlin's a player that you were alongside or played with for many years. What's he like?
Really, really talented footballer. When I first joined the club, he was still young. He was still learning the game. Similar age, similar mentality to Adam Lallana. We then two used to train together in training. It was a nightmare on the same team because they were brilliant together. But Morgan, his passing ability, he was very quick over a short period of time. He read the game really well. In a central midfield, he could see pitches very early. His vision was very good. Adapted really well with the squad. He was a nice guy, really friendly, very funny guy actually. But a really, really good player. Had a great Southampton career. Enjoyed playing with him. It was hard to compete against him in the same position because he was so talented. But yeah, he was a player that was very comfortable on the ball, very comfortable in possession. You wanted to give him the ball because he would create things. And actually, the only disappointment I think he would have had is that I think he could score more goals in his career. I know he was a defensive midfield player, but he had that knack of scoring good goals. His timing was good in the box, and he had the ability to score goals. But no, he was a good player and a good colleague. So I enjoyed playing with him.
Adam, how would you assess Morgan's 7-year spell at Saints and then his career after leaving?
Well, I mean, yeah, his career at Saints was fantastic. As Dean said, it was, he came. I remember actually, weirdly, it's a strange story, but I was actually when Rupert Lowe and Michael Wilde came back together at the football club, and they appointed Jan Portfley. I remember I was actually in the chairman's office for some reason that I can't quite remember, and Rupert said to me, "Oh, we're going to sign this kid. He's from France for like 1.2 million euros or something." And bearing in mind how little money the club had, that sounded like it was basically the entire transfer budget. And I remember thinking to myself at that point in time, well, this sounds like an absolute disaster. So you've got a thin squad already, and you're going to spend nearly all your money on an 18-year-old from France. But in fairness, I think Rupert had found him with Terry Cooper, who was a long-time European scout at Saints. And in fairness, it was a fantastic purchase. I mean, he got absolutely kicked to bits, kicked out of every single game to start with. But Alan Pardew was really a big influence on Morgan, really made him from a kind of a nice, pretty ball-playing midfielder when the conditions were right to a tough defensive midfielder who could then use his incredible technical abilities, in a really positive way. And I think perhaps Dean plays down his impact as well on Morgan as a teammate and playing alongside him a lot. I think that was an important influence on him as well. So a fantastic Saints career, and really the second part of that question is sort of since Saints. Yeah, I mean, sad really in this respect that you see this a lot, unfortunately, with players that leave Saints. Not all of them, but many of them you decide then that they're kind of, when you're in hindsight, the peak of their powers were at Saints. But you couldn't blame Morgan also for wanting a move. Man United, it's a huge move for any footballer to go there. He kind of had to take his chance and give it a go. It's just sad, really, that it hasn't worked out, and that, you know, you feel like, oh, what a player he could have become had he stayed at Saints and just played all the time. But those are the things, the decisions you have to make as a player in your career, and you have to make those moves. So a little bit sad. We saw the best of him, and then he's kind of faded in the Premier League as a force since then. But happy memories of a really fantastic player to watch.
Yeah, you mentioned Morgan's move to Man United. It very much seemed like a case of right club, wrong time. He kind of struggled under Louis van Gaal in that first season. United finished 5th. It was actually 3 points above Saints that season. And then Mourinho didn't really seem to fancy him, Dean.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because when Morgan went to Manchester United, I expected him to do really well. I think, you know, that defensive midfield role he had, he was, the years before he had at Southampton, he must have been one of the best in the Premier League. So I think it was just the wrong timing for him, maybe the wrong manager. I think Man United at the time were playing too slow. The football wasn't progressive enough for Morgan. He was very structured. Morgan was kind of a free spirit within a structure. He was very creative, very, very good on the ball. And it just didn't work out for him. You know, it's the first time he'd moved up north. That can have an effect, different location, which, you know, affect players sometimes. He was still a young man. But no, like Adam said, if you get an opportunity to go to Manchester United, then you would take it. But it didn't quite happen for him. It's unfortunate, because I think if it had, he could have been a great player at Manchester United as well. But fortunately, you know, Southampton saw the best of him. But he was a talented player, really, really good player, and it was always a joy to play with him.
Well, we know, as we've mentioned, he's now moved on to Nice. Is this kind of the fresh start he needs now? He is 30, but I imagine he's still got plenty of football left in him. You can see him there, the official tweet from Nice there. Adam, do you think he's still got plenty of football left in him?
Yeah, and he's got to give it a go. I think a lot of players get to that point in their career where they just need a fresh start at some point. They just need to... sometimes you feel like it's not always a logical career move sometimes for some players, but they just need to move because they need that fresh start. They need a new impetus. They need maybe a new motivation for themselves. And this is obviously it for Morgan. He's kind of done his time in England. He came over as a very, very young man. It was the first time when he came to Southampton, he'd ever even lived away from living with his mum and dad, I think. So it was kind of, the whole thing was a big cultural experience for him. So I guess it's nice for him now to move back to France, kind of to see out probably the remainder of his career. But at 30, I mean, he's still got a good 5 or 6 years at least at a very high level that he can compete. The French league isn't quite as fast paced as the English league as well. It can be a bit more technical, and that will suit him potentially, and also increase the chances of a longevity in his career. So feels like a good move. Feels like probably the right thing for him to do. I'm not sure what else realistically he would have achieved had he hung around in England much longer. Where was he going to go that's kind of bigger and better than what he was doing already? Did he really want to drop down levels? You know, it's nice for him to go somewhere and a good club as well, and kind of try and revive the career for the years that he's got left now.
Yeah, right. We'll start to work our way through the rest of the team. And Adam, I'm going to stick with you on this one because you weren't really convinced with Cuco Martina at the back. Were you surprised to see him follow Ronald Koeman to Everton?
Yeah, I was. I mean, Cuco was... my memories of Cuco were a lovely guy, just genuinely a great guy, lovely bloke. And one of these guys who just, you know, he'd kind of be the first to tell you that he didn't really think of himself as a Premier League footballer. It was like he'd won a competition to start with to come and play for a Premier League team. He kind of had that attitude that's so refreshing that he's like, so blimey, how did I end up here? Type attitude. And to be fair to him, he gave it everything. Every time he played, you can never criticise him for a lack of application or a lack of effort. He would always give it everything, and we all, of course, are going to talk about the goal, which was just absolutely outrageous. One of those great moments that just goes down in history of everybody who happened to be there to see it. It was you kind of wanted to get a T-shirt printed up to say you were there to see that one. I mean, it was amazing. So a bit of a surprise in a way that he did go to Everton as well, because I think it felt like it was his Premier League career was going to be a couple of years as kind of a stopgap cover position, which is what Saints bought him for, really. So to kind of get a chance to make a move to another Premier League club and get another contract for him was just an incredible opportunity. And I'm sure, I haven't spoken to him since he left Saints, but I'm sure knowing him and the character he was, something that, you know, he's just been eternally grateful for the experience. I'm sure he's absolutely loved it.
And that goal was definitely an experience. I'm sure he's still on a high from that. He really did strike that so sweetly, didn't he? Dean, let's move the conversation on to Theo Walcott then. Just a quick word on him. How would you kind of sum up his career?
Well, obviously, Theo's a fantastic player. He's played for his country, he's played for Arsenal, he's played for Southampton, and now he's at Everton, so he's played some big football clubs. He's got tremendous speed, probably the quickest player I've seen, the quickest player I've played against. He scored some great goals. I just think I feel a little bit sorry for him. I don't think he's had the opportunity to play in his strongest position as a central striker, whether that be at Arsenal or Everton. It's hard for me to say because he's had a top career, but I don't think he's quite fulfilled his potential. He's had injuries, which has not helped, but he's so quick. And when he has performed at his best, when he's been in good form, he's fantastic. I don't think there's many better. I just think he's been a little bit inconsistent. And if he looks back on it when he gets retired, finishing player, I just think maybe he could have pushed himself a little bit more. But a great player, really, really good player. Played for some top clubs, scored some good goals. That hat-trick he scored for his country as well, always a memory in my mind. So a good player, seemed like a nice guy, but I think he could have got a little bit more out of himself.
Yeah, and leading the line is James Beattie. Safe to say, cemented himself as a legend for the club. Is that who you'd have up top, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, in that team, why not? I mean, the Saints have been lucky to have kind of a talismanic striker, and you know, a lot of the time they haven't been always blessed with, you know, in more modern times, having the luxury of 2 or 3 like some Premier League clubs have got, but they've generally always managed to find one. You know, BT was the guy, and a great time for the football club as well. Let's not forget. I mean, FA Cup final was very, very special occasion for everybody at the club. Even though it ended up in a defeat, it was still an incredible run for them. And that season under Strachan, they finished 8th. There was a lot of 1-0 wins with James Beattie getting the only goal. I mean, it happened again and again and again, and it was no coincidence. They were a very disciplined team under Gordon, and Beats was the talisman for that. And you know, he was a real what you call streaky striker, like Dean was talking about earlier. He was the ultimate. You get him on a roll, and good luck stopping him. And then you know, he'd go 4 or 5 games and just look like he, you know, could barely hit a barn door, to use a proverbial. But a really top player for Saints, really did great things for Saints, and was the spearhead and the focal point of a very successful team.
Let's move the chat on to our boss of our five-a-side then, Ronald Koeman. Ronald Koeman led the Saints to their highest ever Premier League finish, which was of course 6th. Adam, do you think that his time at Saints was ever so slightly overshadowed by the circumstances under which he left?
For me, no, but I fear that maybe for some fans it is, and it's hard to accept what happened. The 2 years under Ronald were absolutely sensational. They were without question the best Saints team that I've ever seen. They were just incredible. I mean, the football they played, the sort of swagger they played with, the results they got. I mean, they finished 7th and 6th in his 2 years in the Premier League. I mean, that is extraordinary for Southampton. You know, with all due respect, that is extraordinary to do that, to be in Europe, to be, you know, the year they finished 6th, they were still competing in the Champions League spots in like February and March. I mean, that is just incredible for Saints. And yeah, I mean, you think of Pella and Mane and Tadic. I mean, it was a glorious team who played some just astoundingly good football. And really, I think when you look back, halcyon days, to be honest. So the way he left was sad, and I personally was sad about it because I think things deteriorated fairly rapidly, and it felt to me like he was keen to go, and it felt like some people at the club were keen for him to go as well. And I just found that an incredible shame, given what a remarkable 2 years it was. I think the proof of the pudding really was the fact that until Ralph now, hopefully, they have struggled to get stability, and it's been a gradual downhill ever since he went. So hopefully Ralph turns that around. But I mean, I've only got good memories of Ronald, and I hope that most fans in hindsight will just remember the teams he put out and the excitement that they generated, because it was a really special time to be watching Saints those couple of years.
Yeah, it was very special indeed, and I think quite a few fans watching along on Saints Live at the moment enjoyed that little segment of our five-a-side team. David Sims has said Kuko was great, loved his runs up the right wing in our Europa League campaign. As Adam said, very special times. Kirsty's also got in touch with us. She says, come on Saints, give it all you've got and make it 3 in a row. Come on lads, you've got this. Mark, hello to you. He says, love an unchanged lineup, incredible fitness levels from the squad. Jack Games on YouTube has said the team's solid, great decision by Ralph, but worried about injuries. Yeah, the games are coming thick and fast, aren't they? Sledger33 on YouTube is going for a big win. He's saying 3-0 win to the Saints today. And Carlos has also got in touch on Facebook, and he's going for a 2-0 win to the Saints this evening. Ingsy and Redders with the goals. Well, we're going to move the chat on now to this right here, our new home kit, which was announced yesterday, revealed on our social media channels. If you haven't already done so, we do have a fantastic game that you can play your way through Southampton's history. You can see it there, and you can also win some fantastic prizes through playing that game if you make it onto the leaderboard as well. But here it is in all its glory. What do you think of it, Steve?
You know what, I actually really like it. I think it's quite classy. It's very similar to the 2010-2011 League One season. I've got to say I'm a fan. What about you lads? What do you reckon? Dean, what's your opinions of the new home shirt?
I'm the same as you. I like it. I like the style. I think it looks classy. Obviously, the badge is prominent on it, which is good. It's got the colours of Southampton, so it's a nice kit. It's refreshing. It's a little bit different. So yeah, I like the kit. It's a good style.
Dean, that sash is quite a novelty, isn't it, in English football? Was it kind of a novelty for you wearing it in the 2010-2011 season?
I think looking back on it now, it was. At the time, it was a kit that was nice to wear. It brings back really good memories, obviously, now. We had some great results in it. It was a good team at the time. We obviously had promotion that season. So, it was a good kit to wear, great memories. It was a white kit, so not many teams wear white as well. But like I say, great memories, great victories, playing with some great players. So, yeah, it brings back really good memories.
Adam, your thoughts on the new kit?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's a nice kit. Don't mind them doing something a bit different. I am a traditionalist, so I do kind of quite like the red and white stripes of Southampton. And this is a bit different, but it's kind of sometimes it's hard as well, because I see a lot of criticism of the kits, but it's hard to really get a feel for it until you see the players out on the pitch wearing it. You know, when you see the kind of athletes that it's made for wearing it, you kind of get a better sense as to whether it's one that's for you or not. But you know, I think the nice thing is it's good to have a bit of experiment. It's good to freshen things up every now and then. We're kind of hoping that next season is going to be something a little bit special under Ralph, and getting that feeling it's possible during restart. So I think if that happens, then it'll be one of those kits that people say what they want now, but they'll look back on it fondly because the team got good results in it.
Yeah, you covered the Saints for 18 years for the Echo. So what's your favourite kit then in that period of time?
Well, having said I like the red and white stripes, I'm going to be controversial now and actually say, I think maybe just it is a history and tradition thing, but the yellow and blue of the FA Cup final kit, 2003. I mean, it was a very, very special day, very special occasion. Really memorable for all of us who had the privilege to cover the run and then be there for the day and be involved in it in some way. And obviously followed the history and tradition of the colours of the 1976 FA Cup winning team. So very special. It was not an extraordinary kit in any way. It doesn't, when you look back on it now, you don't think, oh, that was a really good looking kit. But just for what it meant and what it signified in the history aspect of it, I think I would pick that one.
Yeah, what a cracking kit. I love that one as well. Well, let's head to our socials once again to get another quick look at what the fans are saying at home. We have a comment here from Mark. Hello to you. Good evening. He says, come on Saints, another win today would be brilliant for the lads. Let's have a strong finish to the end of this season. We have another one here from Michelle. She's watching on Facebook and she's going for a 2-0 win to the Saints tonight. And she says it's totally doable to get the win. So make sure you keep those comments coming in. We love to hear from you here on Saints Live. This show, it's all about you, the fans, and we do our best to read out all those comments as well throughout the show.
Yeah, we haven't really got on to today's game yet, so it's probably about time we do that. Now, last time that Saints beat Everton in the league was when your dad was playing, right, Kenz?
That's
back in
a long
1997.
while back. Yeah.
So what do you think for today's game then, Dean? What do you think the result's going to be, and how do you think Saints are going to perform there?
Well, Saints are in excellent form, and I think they've got every opportunity to continue that, especially the away form this season, the amount of goals they're scoring, the approach that they take. I like that from the manager. He likes to attack, keeps the same system, the same structure, the same philosophy, whether it's home or away. So Southampton have got a good opportunity to get 3 points here, because I'm not sure about Everton, if I'm honest. I think they're in transition period. I think Ancelotti's an excellent manager. It's a big football club, and I think they've got big plans for the future in terms of a new stadium, in terms of what they'll spend in the transfer market. But as a team at the moment, I think they're a little bit indifferent. They don't score enough goals. And one thing that Southampton have got at the moment is scoring goals, and that's the most important thing in football. So Everton will be very wary of Southampton today, and I'm looking forward to the game. But I think, Southampton can get another win today and keep pushing up that league and jump ahead of Everton in the league.
Yeah, I just have to clarify, that was a win in the league at Goodison Park, not in general.
Yeah. Can it be hard for players to kind of refocus their minds, Dean, after such a huge win against the likes of Manchester City? Or does it actually have the opposite effect in that they're going into this game with a heap load of confidence?
I think the second. I think it's a confidence thing. I think they would have had time in between the Man City game, the Man City victory, to think about that, to analyse it with the coaching staff. They would have had a long rest period in terms of training. The training load would have been low intensity, so there would have been a lot of recovery, which means more analysis, more talk between the players. So they'll be flying high. The team spirit will be good. The away forms is excellent. I really don't think the team will drop off. I really don't. I think they've come back from the break so strong, so focused, so determined to finish the season well. It's been really refreshing. So I don't see that happening. I see them going for, and one thing they do have now is that they have trust in the manager's formation, and they understand the way he wants them to play. And I think that's improving every game. It's improving, and it shows with the players that are coming in, it doesn't change. So whatever they're doing on the training ground, the analysis, the detail they're going into, every player that comes into the team feels comfortable, and that's really showing, and that is real positive to the future. So I don't see that happening. I see them confident. I see them going for the win. I see them pressing Everton and getting opportunities today.
Adam, what have you made of Everton this season? Their manager, Carlo Ancelotti, says they're still in the hunt for a Europa League place. Is that realistic for them?
Probably not realistic. I don't think. Well, given their form is so up and down, I mean that's the problem. I think Dean totally hit the nail on the head when he said they're in a transition phase as a club. That is where they are. They've gone and got themselves an absolute top draw manager. No arguments about that. I mean, he's a great manager, Ancelotti. They probably don't have a quality of squad and depth of squad that is as high quality as their manager is in his job. So that's kind of the task for them. I mean, he's doing well. I mean, bear in mind they were in a right mess when he came in, so he's done well to kind of turn it around fairly rapidly and start to push them back up the table again. But I think really they are one of those clubs that probably have got an eye on next season already. I don't really see there's masses and masses of them to play for, but they've got threats. They still have quality players. Saints, kind of as you pointed out, it's a poor record at Goodison Park. It's, for whatever reason, in the league, it's just been, it's so long ago that they won. I mean, that's so long ago since they won. It's proved difficult. So a bit like the home record, it would be a great one to shake and not have that hanging over you again, and not have to be beaten by that statistic every time you go there. And I think today's an opportunity to do that. Realistically, you haven't got the home fans on top of you, as you kind of can be at Goodison Park in one of those real old traditional grounds. By the way, the most uncomfortable press box in the Premier League by an absolute mile. So I'm glad I'm not sat in there tonight. So yeah, a good chance for Saints. I think a good opportunity for them to kind of take advantage of kind of a bit of a period where Everton perhaps aren't quite as on it as they may be come the start of next season, when they've got a lot more to play for.
Yeah, big opportunity indeed. And if Saints can get the win tonight, it will be 3 wins in a row, which will be the first time that's happened since May 2016. Dean, just how positive will that be for the club?
It'll be huge, because to win 3 games in a row in the Premier League is difficult, really, really difficult. So yes, it will lift the players again. It will be another thing that will build the spirit, another thing that will build the belief. And I quite like the team at the moment. Like I say, they look happy, but I think there's an arrogance about the team now. They go into games thinking they're going to win, and that's a difference. You're not going into the game hoping to win. You're thinking, right, we can win this. We're stronger than them. We can score more goals than these. We have a solid structure now. We have a game plan that we all believe in. So winning 3 games in a row in the Premier League is huge, and it's just another thing that this mini season that Southampton are playing in will just grow their confidence. And like Adam's mentioned, it building momentum for next season, because there's going to be another short period, is a really big thing for the club now.
We've just seen a quick recap of the team news there on your screens. And before we do part ways before kickoff, we'll take one more look at what's being said from you guys, the fans at home, on social media. Plain Spotter Ben, wonderful name, he's got in touch and said Saints to win 2-0 tonight. That seems to be quite a common scoreline from the comments I've been seeing. David has also got in touch. He's saying bit nervous about tonight. Carlo will have given the Toffees a good talking to after Spurs. Still hoping for a 2-1 win. Brandon, hello. He said 3-1 to the Saints tonight. Ings to get 2 and Shay Adams to score again. Lynn on Facebook has said every opportunity to take 3 points tonight. Come on, you Reds. And a final comment here then from Alan. Good evening. He says, come on, you Saints. You can beat them 2-1. So lots of optimism, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Just quickly, let's get some score predictions in from you, Dean and Adam. What are we saying tonight then? Let's go with you, Dean, first.
I'm very confident. I like the way the team's playing. I will go for a Southampton 2-1 victory, with Shay Adams getting another goal today to add to his tally.
Well, I've been absolutely abysmal at this since we started, so you don't put money on what I say if you want to keep any of it. But I'll go for 2-0. So.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much, guys. We'll be seeing you in our post-match show. So yeah, just under half an hour until kickoff at Goodison Park. Fingers crossed for another big 3 points for the Saints. Do make sure you tune in after the final whistle for our post-match show. But until then, we'll see you in a bit.